In feudalism, the serf produces more than he gets, and that difference is called the rent collected by the lord, who uses it the way he sees fit. And in capitalism, the worker produces more than he gets as a wage, and the difference is the surplus that the capitalist uses as he sees fit. Marxism is the protest against all systems in which the people who produce the surplus are not the ones who get and dispose of it.
Sir, with all due respect, have you ever closely examined your premises here? Because they are all wrong. It is your line of thinking that has led to the suffering of billions of people around the world and throughout history. Hi, my name is Alice Bartlett and welcome to The Rational Woman. Here, we are discussing everything philosophy from personal relationship to geopolitical and economic issues. Let's get into today's video. This video is a message to Professor Richard D Wolff. I recently saw a very interesting clip of Professor Richard D Wolff on Facebook commenting on capitalism and Marxism. Let's have a look at the clip.
In all societies, the workers produce surplus. All workers in all societies produce more than they get. How do different societies organize this? One way to organize this is to have the workers who produce more than they themselves get be the ones to decide what to do with it. That's what I just argued for. That's exactly what I just argued for. The alternatives, you know the names. Slavery. The slave produces everything, gets a part of it back to keep going. The difference is the surplus, which the slave master gets, keeps, and uses as he sees fit. In feudalism, the serf produces more than he gets, and that difference is called the rent collected by the lord, who uses it the way he sees fit. And in capitalism, the worker produces more than he gets as a wage, and the difference is the surplus that the capitalist uses as he sees fit. Marxism is the protest against all systems in which the people who produce the surplus are not the ones who get and dispose of it. It's a fundamental democratic idea. The reason it can't be taught in this country is that if you have a verbal commitment to democracy, you got a real big problem justifying capitalism.
Sir, with all due respect, have you ever closely examined your premises here? Because they are all wrong. It is your line of thinking that has led to the suffering of billions of people around the world and throughout history. You said that in all societies, the workers produce more than what they get. You're forgetting that workers cannot work productively without other resources such as land, capital, or machinery, and most importantly, the idea and the methods on what to produce and how to produce it. Are you defining the workers as the only people who physically work on the production line? Because who is coming up with the idea of what to produce? Who is bringing all of the other resources together in a way that can produce it? The answer is the capitalist. The capitalist is someone who sees an idea that will be of value to the consumer, that will make them be willing to pay more than what it costed to produce that thing. And the capitalist then would have to be so confident in the idea to be willing to take the risk to combine resources such as land, capital, and labor together to produce that good or service. That risk often comes with a huge investment. If they cannot make a profit, which is defined as the difference between the cost of production and the price of what the consumer is happy to pay, why would they do this? Why would they come up with any new idea, and why would they take on that risk for that business venture? And so in turn, you can see that in all communist Marxist society, no one ever comes up with any new idea or undertake any new business venture. and thus you see very limited range of products and services. With all due respect, the camera or the phone that you were using to record the video was probably invented and produced by a capitalist. Do you think that Steve Jobs would have worked so hard in his parents' garage to come up with the iPhone and then take the risk and put in the effort to invest and then expand into all these different factories to make the iPhone into a reality if all that he can receive is a mere wage, just the same as any worker on his production line that did not dream of the idea, did not take the risk, did not make any investment? Do you really believe that Steve Jobs should receive the same amount of money? The fact is, the jobs that exist in those factories exist because of Steve Jobs, because of the idea of the iPhone. The one thing that also needs to be defined here is the word to produce or being productive. Not all jobs are productive. In the words of Peter Schiff, if you get people to dig a hole and then fill it up again, is that productive work? The minimum requirement for something to be called productive work is that what is being produced must be valued by the consumer, which means that the consumer must value it enough to pay higher than what it costed to make. In terms of the resources, this is called profit, the very thing that you deem so evil. If this is not true and no profit is made, then the capitalists would have combined scarce resources in a way that did not add any value, but rather destroyed it. For example, a restaurant use resources such as land, so natural ingredients like beef, potatoes and corns, water, kitchenware or capital, and labor to make dishes or meals. Let's say that if these dishes or meals taste so mediocre or bad that no one is willing to pay more for what all these resources costed in order to make those meals or dishes, did the restaurant add any value or did they destroy it? Because those, let's say just consider the fresh ingredients like beef, potatoes or corns, they were perfectly fine before they got combined into a dish in a way that did not bring value to anyone. Those beef, potatoes and corns would have been much better used by a restaurant that actually knows how to make delicious dishes that would then make the customer be willing to pay more for what it costed in terms of the values of those ingredients in order to have the dish. So if the restaurant doesn't manage to make any profit, it will eventually go out of business. This will free up these scarce resources, like the shops that the restaurant was renting can be used by someone else. The laborers that restaurant were employing can now be employed by better restaurants who actually know how to make good dishes. This is how capitalism allocates scarce resources effectively. No one had to sit down and draw up a 5-year plan. But yet, the consumers in capitalist economies are the most satisfied. And in this instant, you can see that it is the idea of what to produce, i.e., what dishes to be made, that will satisfy the customer, and how to produce it, i.e., the knowledge and methods on how to make those dishes in a way that will make them turn out delicious and therefore be of value to the consumer. Those are both extremely important in production, and it is much more than just physical labor. You mentioned that capitalism is no different from feudalism in a way that it is unfair to the workers. Is your thinking so simplistic that you cannot see the difference here? Well, let me tell you that in feudalism, you can never become a lord and own land, a key part of any production, even if you tried, even if you're the most effective and efficient and productive peasant there ever be. The social hierarchy in feudalism was determined by nothing but your relationship to the king. In other words, favors and pull. Whereas in capitalism, anyone who can come up with a great idea, and if they are willing to take the risk and work hard enough to materialize that idea, they can rise to the top of the social hierarchy, including all of the workers that you mentioned. The workers are free to become the capitalists. Again, the proof of the merit of the idea is profit. It is a customer saying, "We want what you make for more than what it took you to make it." Capitalism is a system of may the best idea win, and not may whoever can do the people in power the most favor win. It is the ultimate meritocracy. And one thing that needs to be noted here is obviously a capitalist cannot force anyone to buy anything. The customer must be willing and voluntarily give up their hard-earned dollar in exchange for a good or service. The customers are then the ultimate judges of quality and price and whether something is worth it and should be produced. That is why you see businesses and companies in capitalism trying their best to appease their customers and in the process enriching everyone's life. Have you ever wondered why you see the greatest standard of living anywhere where capitalism thrives? Well, that is why. You said that Marxism is the system in which the workers who produce things are the ones to decide what to do with it. In capitalism, the workers can also decide what to do with the things they produce. They can work for themselves. They can be an independent electrician or plumber or web designer, or they can open up their own business provided if they have enough capital and a good idea. Workers are workers in a free system because they choose to, because they see that it is more beneficial for them to work for someone else and receive a guaranteed wage rather than having to take the risk of coming up with an idea, investing into and opening up a business, and possibly having that idea failed. Some, if not most people, are not comfortable taking that kind of risk or simply cannot come up with any new idea. That is why not everyone is a business owner. But in capitalism, you are free to become a business owner if you wanted to. That is a key difference. But let's say that hypothetically, Marxism does let the workers get all of what they produce, putting aside the fact that it requires a lot more than physical labor to produce something, as examined before. Who and by what method can the amount of all that they produce be determined? For example, imagine that you physically work on a potato farm. You were not the one who came up with the idea of the potato farms. You were not the one who made the investments to acquire land and tools and fertilizer and the methods of how to produce potato. Let's put all that aside, and let's say you are the one who physically worked as a laborer on this potato farm. And let's say all of your productions go to you because you're the worker on this farm. You produce, let's say, 100,000 tons of potato per year. Now, you can decide what to do with what you produce, right? All the potatoes. You can eat it, you can give it to your relatives, or you can burn it, for that matter. But one thing is for sure, is you're not going able to eat all of your potatoes if you were productive and efficient in your potatoes producing business. So you're going to need other things other than potatoes, which means you will have to trade with other people who produce other things other than potatoes. For example, you might want to trade 100 potatoes for a shirt because you need a shirt. So who is going to decide how much your potatoes are worth? Is 100 potatoes worth one shirt or two shirts? The answer is, in a free society, the supply and demand mechanism will decide the values of your potatoes. Meaning, if it is very easy to produce potatoes and many other people can also produce potato and sell them, i.e. supply, then the values of your potatoes will go down because the shirt maker can just go to the next potato seller and get more potatoes for any one of his shirt if you're not happy with the price that he gives you. So, yes, the worker can decide what to do with the whole of their production, and in capitalism, they do, so long as they were the one who actually came up with the idea and combined all other resources and the methods on how to make potatoes in order to actually produce potatoes. But what they will get for what they produce is still the market value of their production, which is decided by other people in the society and how much they value the workers' production. Because you simply cannot produce everything that you need and you have to trade. You can never decide what exactly you will get for your production. It depends on the buyers on the market. Even if you are the one who physically worked on producing the things. This is called the supply and demand mechanism, and it belongs to capitalism, not Marxism. In reality, in the communist systems that have existed before, how have we seen production being distributed? In other words, how have we seen the workers decide what to do with their production? Well, traditionally, in order to be fair, when deciding what workers get what amount, the Marxists go by needs, not ability or hard work, but needs. Who needs it more, and who are going to decide what constitutes needs? The answer is the Bureau of Government Officials, who hold the power over everyone's life and death. What they get does not depend on whether their ideas was good, whether their methods were the most effective, whether they put in the longest hour, but on whether they have a sickly child or a sickly grandfather at home. And the relationships that they have to the people who decide what need is to be put first. is that of the sickly child or of the sickly grandfathers. So holding the power to decide what to do with other people's production, the people who sit on this distribution bureau, supposedly representing the workers, eventually become gods, and therefore corrupted and rotten to the core, while the productive people with great ideas and hard work are punished and receive no incentive or rewards for their ingenuity. So not surprisingly, the workers themselves eventually become very unmotivated and unproductive, leading to massive shortages of everything and consequently poverty and starvation. And this is what happened. Can you imagine a worse hell to live in? Where there is nothing you can do to better your life but sucking up to those in power who supposedly represent you? The hell where those with the best ideas are not free to bring them into existence and are not free to reap the rightful rewards, but are deemed evil just because they supposedly receive this rightful reward, i.e. profit. The hell where people who produce the most have to seek permission and take orders from those who produce nothing or have no idea how to produce it. Those whose only merit is how loudly they claim they care about other people. So Professor Richard D Wolff, I disagree with you wholeheartedly, and I sincerely hope that your flawed thinking has not infected the minds of the young people that you teach, because I do not want to be delivered to that hell ever again. I would love to debate you, Professor, so if you're interested, please contact me. If you like that video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Please also share the video and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Why and why not? Until the next video, stay rational.